Anyway. Hello, this is Thought Anthology. I believe it's episode, I think it's 33. Or it's probably a bit more than that. I can't quite remember now. I probably should looked into it. Today I have Jack with me. We're going to just go through getting to know you a bit, Jack.
Sounds good to me.
I've got these notes to prompt me because with night shift, my brain is like cooked. Like the ability to do anything is like really hard at the moment. So who are you, Jack?
Who am I? It's a deep question, I guess.
Or it's a very superficial one.
It's I don't know. For work, I'm a journalist.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a big part of who I am as a person is, what I do for work and outside of work, what I do for sport, the MMA stuff, the boxing stuff, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Who am I? Gosh.
Yeah. So where are you, for example, where are you from?
I'm from Adelaide originally.
Yeah. So born and bred there?
Born and bred, yeah. So I was in Adelaide for most of my life.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Mount Gambier for a year and a half.
Yeah.
I worked for the ABC up there, so it's
beautiful.
sort of taken me back.
Yeah.
With the microphones, feel like I'm back on the radio.
Oh, beautiful.
And then, I've been in Mildura for a year now, so it's been good.
So why did you start doing journalism?
So when I was at school, I was trying to pick between law or journalism.
Yeah.
So they were my two things that I was deciding between. And then I did year 12 law, and it was just a bit too clinical for me. It's very process driven and not enough sort of human interaction, which I quite enjoy.
Yeah.
So then that's why I sort of went into media. Always liked writing, so that was always a good thing. And then just my job's fun. I just get to talk to people more interesting than myself all day. So
that's good for me. So you really enjoy those human interactions. Do you do you enjoy being a bit creative? Because I assume they're all a bit more creative than it would be in law. Yeah,
absolutely. You get a lot of freedom. I mean, all the jobs really I've worked in media, you get a lot of freedom in terms of what you want to report on. So if you have something you're particularly passionate about, they say just go for it, which I really enjoy. So I did a story last week, spoke to one of the local Indigenous organisations.
Yeah.
And they were basically really struggling for funding. And we had a big chat about the fact that what they do is they get kids in before they reach a crisis point.
Yeah.
Because they were saying, it's a band-aid solution to try to deal with kids when they're further down the line, when they're already getting in trouble with police, when they're already, out on the street causing trouble. But if you can get them in early, not just Indigenous youth, but any youth in general, because obviously it's a bit of an issue around Mildura at the moment.
Yeah.
And they were saying, we're not getting any funding, but they're funding the end.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting, and things like that I'm quite passionate about.
Yeah. I think that was something that Anthony McDonald Tip and Woody was doing or something.
Yeah,
I believe he's doing a program similar to that.
Yeah, I think he's getting them through the football, which is good.
Yeah, because I heard about something like that. That'd be interesting to get through. So how long have you been doing journalism then? So how long was the degree? I'm assuming it's like 3 years or.
So it was a 4-year degree. So I did a double. I did international relations and journalism. Yeah. So a bit of politics and philosophy. And things like a bit of history as well in there, which was good.
Beautiful.
So I did that 4-year degree, and then I went and worked for the ABC for a year and a half. Yeah. And then I've been a year at this job, so coming up to 3 years.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you really enjoy it still?
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it.
So with your hobbies, what sort of hobbies do you do at the moment?
As I was saying before, so sort of boxing, getting into jiu-jitsu, as you know.
Yeah.
Which I've been loving. It's it's interesting. It's very creative and cerebral. Yeah. Even more so than boxing. So.
Yeah. So is that why you enjoy it?
Yeah, I think so. I listened to a video the other day, and it was George St. Pierre. Yeah. And he was talking about there's 3 types of people that go into fighting sports. He says there's the fighter, which is like sort of like the tough guy. Yeah. And then there's the athlete. Yeah. And then there's the artist. Yeah. And I really like just the learning and the creativity of it. That's probably what I enjoy most about it, I would say.
Yeah, I think I'm the same with that as well.
Yeah.
So you said you do boxing. So how long have you done boxing for?
Oh, probably coming up to 7 years, I'd say.
7 years?
Yeah.
So what made you get into boxing?
So I started with 6 of my mates. Yeah. We were actually one of my mates' mums used to box. Yeah. Like just for fitness boxing. Yeah. So we all headed along to that, and we all sort of trained for a while, probably trained for about a year together. And then it got to the point where we started sparring. Yeah. And then that's sort of when you decide whether you want to actually be a boxer or not. Yeah. We all started sparring, and then all 5 of them left. Yeah. And I was the last one standing. So yeah. And just been doing it ever since then, really.
Oh, beautiful. So have you done a few fights and stuff?
Yeah, I've had about 9, I think.
9? Yeah. How'd you go with all them?
Yeah, good. I've got about 50-50 record.
Yeah, beautiful.
I lost 3 of my first 4, though.
Yeah.
So that teaches you a bit about yourself, I think. You just got to push through that.
Yeah, learn how to lose.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good skill to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think records matter too much in amateurs. It's more for the fun of the sport, really.
Oh, exactly right. Yeah. Oh, that's cool, man.
Mm.
So you're saying you're going to leave in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with all that? Are you still going to try to do jiu-jitsu? Have you found something? Or what are you going to do with yourself?
Yeah, so there's a place in Toowoomba, which is an hour away from Dalby.
Yeah.
So probably just going to make that commute a couple times a week, see if I can get down there.
Yeah.
Because, you need a hobby.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just go crazy.
Yeah.
You can't just work all the time.
Oh, this is true.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered the hobbies already. That's gone quick, eh?
What got you into jiu-jitsu, I guess?
Well, I guess with jiu-jitsu, I've been doing martial arts since I was like 6.
Mm.
So I started like doing like kids karate called Zendu Kai, which is like down at the Arupa Leisure Centre. Started there.
Mm.
And throughout my entire life, I've always been doing some sort of martial art. This jiu-jitsu is probably my fourth martial art.
Mm.
I did the kids karate. I did Japanese karate, which I stopped doing because like my knees were fucking killing me because like they make you kneel on the hard floorboard.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, let's just start doing like all these stances when your knees are numb.
Mm-hmm.
Which didn't help my knees at all. I then did a screamer, which is a Filipino stick fighting martial art.
Oh yeah.
Which I still got the sticks and like the fight. It's like kendo, but like Filipino, which is just, it's brutal.
Keep them on you at all times, just in case.
Yeah, just in case. Always next to my bed.
Yeah.
I'll show you afterwards. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I got into jiu-jitsu. So I decided to do jiu-jitsu because I wanted to be a more complete sort of martial artist. But ever since doing jiu-jitsu, I haven't done any fucking striking.
Yeah.
So that plan kind of went down, which one of my plans this year was to do better.
Mm.
But the reason why I chose jiu-jitsu was just to make myself more complete in the sense of like my martial arts. And then after doing it, like you start realizing that creative aspect, which is just like, it's so inventive and so strategic, similar to striking, but striking's a bit different. There's more options in the realm of the ground game.
Yeah.
And your approach as well, because it's no immediate, like, there's no rush in the sense that someone's striking you and you could be knocked out. It's more or less the positioning, like in a chess game, in the sense of you're defensive and offensive to prevent submission, which what makes it more opportunistic, a bit creative, I think.
Yeah.
So I fucking love it, man. It's so much fun. Like, I had a break because of COVID, but when I came back, you fall back in love with it again.
Mm.
It's just that realization of like the depth of the game, and when you start rolling with higher belts now, just so interesting.
Yeah.
Like, you just really can start seeing how people think.
I feel like skill in jiu-jitsu is just such a great equalizer.
Yeah.
Like, you can be a really good striker, but if you're going against someone who's just significantly bigger than you, there's a chance they can just overwhelm you.
Yeah.
But that just doesn't happen in jiu-jitsu.
No.
Like, it really, if you're skilled enough, you can beat, you know, one of the best guys from our club, like Lockie. You know, the size of him compared to some of the other guys, because he's so skilled, he can just keep up with them. Whereas
exactly right.
In boxing, a 60-kilo guy is not going to beat a 110-kilo guy.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's totally different. And like in a defense, self-defense situation with jiu-jitsu, like you may get like punched and shit, but you can still trap somebody and break their arm.
Yeah.
Like, you'll still take a lot of damage, but like in the end, you can still win as a smaller guy in a fight, self-defensive wise.
I think it's great for the ego as well.
Yeah.
Because coming from boxing, going into jiu-jitsu, like, I didn't assume I was going to be good at it or anything like that, but it's just you come in and you go, wow, I thought I was a decent fighter.
Yeah.
And then you come and do that and you realise, gosh, I'm pretty helpless on the ground.
Yeah. It changes everything, especially when you especially if you stand up and somebody grabs you as well. Like, the punching changes and like your strikes change, and it's just everything's so like the whole aspect of violence is very tricky.
Yeah,
it's very very messy. Yeah, but it makes it so much fun.
But it's kind of interesting though, because I don't really ever think about it as violence.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you think about it. But
the sport itself of jiu-jitsu is not, but when applied to like in the situation of violence.
Oh, in a self-defense situation, yeah.
Yeah, but so as you're saying.
Yeah, I was just like, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, you're fighting or whatever, or it's thuggish, and there's that sort of idea around it. But the nicest people you ever meet are martial arts people. Yeah. From my experiences anyway. And I don't know, if you look at it from an art perspective and from a skill perspective, and even just like a knowledge acquisition perspective, that's what it's all about, rather than just like trying to hurt the guy.
Yeah.
Even in boxing, like, I enjoy the flow of it, the distancing, making people miss. Like it's chess, as you said before.
Yeah, it's a sport. It's that's the fun part of it.
Which is what I try to explain to my mum. Which
she probably doesn't.
Yeah, which she does not get. But
and when I'm saying like violence, I mean like when it gets complicated. I mean like if it's for a self-defense situation, like because violent situations like they're not regulated, they're not controlled. It's like
it's a different game.
It's all different, and like the way you should approach it is very different. But with the sport of just jiu-jitsu by itself, it's just like so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can imagine even in like a self-defense scenario that like you can use most of it you can use except for pulling guard.
Oh really? I'm screwed then. I just throw triangles the whole time.
Throw triangles.
Yeah. Just butt scoop.
Top pressure, bro. Yeah. I should probably be in the camera. Yeah. Have you got any interest in any other martial arts you want to do? Or?
I'm liking judo. We've been doing a bit of judo. Yeah. Judo is just it's just fun, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's so much fun.
Like once you get that feel, that flow.
Yeah.
Like once you get that sensation of like how the throw should feel. There's nothing better.
It's just a cool idea of just being well-rounded, I think. I like wrestling. I like judo.
Yeah.
I did, like you were saying, you were doing karate and stuff when you were growing up. I did taekwondo growing up. So I did 10 or 11 years of taekwondo growing up.
Yeah.
I think I was like a 1-stripe brown belt or something like that. Like getting close to the black belt. So that's sort of the kicking, and then went into the punching, and then now we're doing the grappling. But I think it's just a lifetime thing, right?
Yeah, man, you got to do it well. It's like it's kind of like being that modern day like warrior sort of thing, I guess, not being too corny. It's like the whole thing. Like that's I think every like martial artist throughout their life like always focus on just doing it for like always improving and always trying to find their way in that art, and that's also being a well-rounded martial artist.
Yeah.
I don't think I've never seen any martial artist that doesn't want to be well-rounded.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's interesting as well because obviously you really enjoy martial arts, but you also really enjoy philosophy.
Yeah.
And, thought-provoking things. Do you reckon there's sort of a connection between the two?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like you probably read the Book of Five Rings.
Yeah.
I think I
actually just read it like a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Do you think isn't there a quote in there that says the way isn't everything?
Yeah. Well, that's like the last book, right? Like it's just one page, and isn't this whole thing? You just have to master everything. That's kind of the whole thing, calligraphy and poetry and which I think is cool because you think of philosophers these days, and you sort of think of a guy in a tweed jacket or something like that. But then you look at Marcus Aurelius or whatever, and they were Caesars and hunters and warriors. Yeah. And I think that's kind of been lost a little bit these days.
Yeah. And I really find that concept of the ways and everything is like, and that seems very true. That like you can, like let's say for example in jiu-jitsu, if I can start having thought, like if I can force myself to think more creatively and have more thought-provoking conversations with people, I can then apply those same like thought strategies in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And that's the way I interpret the ways and everything. Like in calligraphy, the patience of like finding order and structure within those strokes can also be found within like a martial art like striking or sword fighting.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's the way I interpreted that point.
Yeah, and he even talks about things, the way you walk, like the strides you take, and everything is very detailed. Yeah.
It's like everything you do is the way, which is very cool when you think about it, and it's samurai. Yeah. Yeah. No.
And then there's just like 45 pages of the book where it's all the different sword techniques. Yeah. I'm like, how do I translate this to jiu-jitsu?
How can I do that?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's good.
It's probably not the technique itself. It's probably the concept.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I love that. So they are very related. I think, because the whole point of like, I guess, I actually don't know what I'm getting with that. I don't know. Do you think it's very connected?
Yeah, I'd say so for sure.
What reasons do you think so?
Well, I don't know. You can, like, if you just go into something with just being tough or just being athletic, you're just not going to get far.
Yeah.
Like, you can be tough and athletic, but you'll never be a great striker. And you can be tough and athletic, and you'll never be a great jiu-jitsu person. You need to study it. Yeah. As you said, the way, like, you need to study the basics, like a hip escape. Like, it's boring. No one likes to do hip escapes, but I've learned, like, recently, as I'm a white belt, but it's like, that's so crucial. Now when we're doing the warm-ups, I'm like, I want to get this perfect. Yeah. Because when someone's on top of you, you can't do it half-assed, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But you can even say that, well, I think you can apply all those sort of thought concepts to everyday life anyhow. Like, I think everyone's a philosopher in their own right.
Yeah.
Because everyone makes a decision based upon a thought process.
That's true.
If that matches up without sounding too deranged. I feel like I can't really think straight at the moment because like you can feel like a thought block from night shift.
From the night shift,
it's just like I can't think straight.
Yeah, I feel a bit of a thought block from the 10 whiskeys.
Last night. But let me know if like it makes sense or not.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying.
Legit, because because I can't because the entire time like I really was into like philosophical thinking. I think around about like I started that sort of stuff when I was 12. Because like
that's early to get into it.
Yeah, that's because I had like an existential crisis. I realized that you die. And it really hit me home. So like after that, like I just like was having like really moments of like introspection and thoughts about like what life is and all that sort of stuff, and really had issues with it.
Yeah. So what, were you scared of death or?
Well, I don't know if it was like, firstly it was a fear of death, and then after the fear of death, it was a disappointment in life. I was just disappointed that like the entirety of our existence is that we work and then we die. That was how basic my thought process was back then. Yeah. That like, at first it was like, oh, my life is going to end, I will die. Yeah. It's like, fuck, I just got here, dude. Yeah. Like, and then again, like, and with that process, like, I'm not convinced there is a God, but there could or could not be. Yeah. There's a lot of like nothing is for certain. You don't know why you exist. You don't know what happens after you don't exist. So like that's pretty fucking horrifying. Yeah. It's just like, so I'm just gonna die, and like I don't know what reason that's for. Like, and there's no obvious reason while I'm alive. Sorry if you're like a Christian or anything.
No,
like that.
I'm not. See, I have the sort of belief that I don't think it really matters. Like, I don't think you need to have some sort of grand scheme. You know, a lot of people go through like, I want to be remembered. Yeah. Even then, that makes sense. Because the thing is, it doesn't matter what you do. In a million years, no one's going to remember you.
Exactly right.
So, who cares? Yeah. Like, just get your little interactions with people during the day is where you make those impacts, I guess. Yeah. Like, just try to, have fun with your friends, be kind to people, do what you enjoy. Yeah. It doesn't matter if there's no overarching thing you need to achieve in your life. Yeah. And I think if you look at it like that, you're going to be a lot happier.
Yeah. And that's a similar conclusion I came to anyway at the end of the day. Like, it's like, we don't have to be certain about anything. Like, I think the idea of being certain is just a way of like dealing with our insecurities of the uncertain. And once we accept that everything is uncertain, then we can really enjoy things.
Well, I mean, the thing is, without scarcity, nothing's valuable. Yeah. Do you know, like, if we didn't have a limited amount of time, nothing would mean anything. Like, if you were immortal and you lived forever, you'd become so numb to everything. Yeah. You'll have done everything, and it's just, nothing. What do you do? Yeah. It's like, if there was infinite diamonds in the world, they're worthless.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's sort of maybe a good way to look at it.
Yeah, which is a very valuable way of looking at it. Yeah, I never thought about it in that sort of sense. Not that sort of angle. Yeah. Yeah. But like, with that sort of Marcus Aurelius thing, since like over those years, I've started to develop thoughts that like need to make every day, well, not necessarily, I need to take value in every day and try to make the most that I can. But that's within reason, and realizing that I am imperfect and I can't achieve everything perfectly, but at least trying to strive for something every day that I can be proud of once I've passed away. So it's a matter of just not taking every day for granted, because after this conversation we have today, it's not coming back. Yeah. Like, we can replay it, but like this moment in physical space and time is not existent anymore. Eventually this entire like video won't exist anymore. But like, just enjoying that it exists now is something special.
Yeah. And I think just being able to accept the reality of things sometimes. Like, shit things just happen and there's no reason for it. Like, there's no right or reason. Some people just get a shit run in life, and that's just, they haven't done anything to deserve that. Some people get a really great run in life and they haven't done anything to deserve that either. It's just sort of how things are.
Exactly right. Just chaos.
It's a very Buddhist type of thing.
Yeah. Very Zen philosophy.
Yeah. So my partner, she's Vietnamese, and for Lunar New Year we went to the Buddhist temple. Yeah. So I was listening to them speak there and did the whole sort of, the ceremony and whatnot for Lunar New Year. And it's a very Buddhist belief. You accept the things you can't change, and you just say, it is what it is. There's suffering in life, but try to be happy with what you can be happy with, which I think it's a cool religion. Yeah, I prefer that sort of religion to being like there's a deity that controls everything. You got to appease him, otherwise you're gonna have a shit afterlife.
Yeah, it's a very objective sort of religion. Yeah, it's just like. What's the one Zen quote is like, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Like, there's a guy who'd ask questions to a Zen philosopher, and he just says, it is, isn't it? Like, that's all it is. Like, oh, my life is suffering. It is, isn't it? Oh, my life is happy. It is, isn't it?
Mm.
You know, my house got taken down by a car. It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you can't do anything. Like, so many things are outside of your control. So what's the point of getting worked up about it?
Mm.
Like, and that's a real Stoic sort of philosophy as well.
Do you think that Stoicism these days is sort of, because of social media and because of the whole, like, right-wing red pill stuff, Stoicism's kind of been miscued?
Oh, a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like it started out like with that perception that Stoicism's like having no emotion at all.
Yeah.
Like
people are posting American Psycho clips of me like, I'm a Stoic. So you're kind of missing the point, I think, there.
Yeah. I feel like there is a perception that like people have miscued it I think that's because they've placed over their own probably cognitive biases over it, would you say?
Mm.
Like, because I think that would be the only thing that'd be causing it.
Yeah.
It's because they maybe have perceptions of what things ought to be, and so then they listen to the quote of this and they said, this is what it ought to be.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Wait, say it again?
As in, like, the reason why it's perceived that way, because people already have preconceived notions of the way things should be.
Mm.
So when they read a quote from Marcus Aurelius or from Stoicism, they say, oh, this is what it ought to be, and not what actually the intention was.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And then, therefore, they will result in these conclusions that they're so biased towards already, or they'll misconstrue something towards their biases.
But I think sort of saying you're one thing or another is stupid. You should take bits and pieces from everything. You know, people would just identify like, I'm a Stoic, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a utilitarianist. Like, you have to just be like, I'll pick this and I'll discard the rest.
Yeah.
And then you sort of make up your own beliefs out of those things, because it's just one person's opinion.
Yeah.
Like, everyone read Marcus Aurelius' diary. He didn't know anyone was going to read his diary.
Yeah.
Just happened to become famous. But that was his life, and that's how he experienced it. But you can't just
live your life.
Can't just copy his life. You know?
Yeah. Your life is totally different.
Yeah, exactly.
You can try to take some of his thought processes and apply it, but if it doesn't work for you, there's no real point applying it.
Mm.
Yeah, like, and I think it is, like, I don't like the idea of having a solid identity like that. Like, I think I think it'll lead you down a path of disappointment.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with politics. You know, people say, oh, I'm right-wing, I'm left-wing.
Yeah.
But surely, issue by issue, you change.
Surely.
You know, you can't just agree with everything that one party says.
Yeah.
Because no one does that.
No. And it's kind of foolish.
Yeah.
Like, I had a really good conversation with a mate about politics. Side note now, we're going on a lift. I never thought about it this way. That, like, you notice how people, when, like, comes to voting time, how it becomes like an us versus them sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you have the opposition and you have whatever, I can't remember the terms now. And how if the opposition ends up in position, everyone, like, still hates them.
Yep.
When you should be perceiving it as they should do a bloody good job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not a matter of, like, it's a matter of percentages rather than a 50-50.
Yeah.
And it's very strange how, like the media and people start skewing that perception that it is a 50-50, not actually a game of percentages of, like, who's going to do the better job.
And the thing is, people have ideas that they both agree with, but because I did something on this at uni, and it was basically about the fact that in modern day times with social media and the way politics is set up, there's been a complete dissolving of civil resolution. Like, people can't find common ground anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, if you're on the opposite side, I can't agree with anything you say.
Yeah.
So people talk about, what's an example? Like, okay, gun control, for example.
Yeah.
People who are pro-gun control or, you know, against gun control, neither of them want kids to die.
Yeah.
And that's something they can both agree on.
Yeah.
But the people who are pro-gun control are saying, oh, you know, these guys on this other side, they want kids to die. That's why they're keeping guns legal. And then they say, oh, they're trying to take away our freedom. But there's middle ground there.
Yeah.
But people can't see that middle ground because you get too fired up about it.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's innate for people to, like, become tribal like that?
Probably, but social media has made it worse.
Yeah.
Like, significantly worse. Because you're stuck in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
If you go on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, you're only going to get shown things you agree with.
Yeah.
Because that's how the algorithm's tailored.
Yeah.
So you see all this information that supports your existing beliefs.
Yeah.
And then you go, how could they possibly think that on the other side? Like, they're so stupid. How could, like, where are they getting their information from? And then you look at their social media or whatever. Yeah. They're seeing things that reinforce their views. Yeah. So...
But like, what stops people from, like, what do you think stops people from having a moment of, like, actually being able to perceive things from it? Like, it's kind of like having empathy, actually be able to see the other side. Like, what's hindering that, do you think?
That's a good question.
Because, like, they're in an echo chamber and they're seeing all this and they agree with all these points and they get really, like, emotionally distressed about these other points.
Mm.
and yet they don't seem to be able to actually have an ability to like.
Well, I think it's a personal responsibility to educate yourself.
Yeah.
On an individual level, excuse me. Like if you have a particular view, you should go, okay, maybe I'll have a look at the other side and see if they have a point.
Yeah.
But people aren't going to do that because it takes a lot of work to change your ideas and opinions, especially if you're brought up a certain way. Like if your family's told you something your whole life, it's very hard to change that belief.
Yeah.
But it can work. People can do it. It's just you have to choose to do it yourself.
Yeah, it's work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I think a lot of people would agree with that. And I think it's like maybe and it's also an easier route because having to look into yourself and change yourself is a lot harder than not. And it kind of feels good to have an enemy sometimes.
It does. Yeah. That's human nature, as you were saying. That's tribalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like that kind of thing in us is like we're trying to find that danger, that opposition. But it turns
the other, I think it's called, like the concept of the other.
Yeah, what do you mean?
So I can't remember who said it, but basically people want to unite against a common enemy.
Yeah.
Because then they feel like they're part of a group and, they're part of everyone who has the same beliefs and views. Like you look at most conflicts that have been started, so it's about finding an enemy and then you unite that country. Like countries always, if you win the war, you always end up stronger than before the war. Because everyone came together and there's a sense of patriotism and there's a sense of nationalism after those wars. Like that's why countries wage wars. Yeah. It's for that reason. America made a shitload of money off of both of those wars. Yeah. And they grew stronger. Yeah. A lot of technologies grow too, that's a good point. Everyone unites and like the things progress. War actually has a use. That's Darwinism, I guess. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. I find that. Yeah. I'm trying to go with that. Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, I see it a lot. Back to the sort of empathy thing. Through my work, I see that a lot because I have to interview people of across the board. Yeah. And there's people that I've interviewed that I just do not agree with at all. Their opinions just stand in the face of everything I believe in, but I have to be neutral. Yeah. And I have to listen to what they have to say. Like I've interviewed Pauline Hanson before. Yeah. Oh, that'd been cool. Yeah, I did it when I was 19. Yeah. I did work experience over in Sydney and I interviewed Pauline Hanson. Oh, hell yeah. Her beliefs are very different to my beliefs. Yeah. But you sit there and you nod politely and you listen to what they have to say. Didn't really change my mind on anything, but you have to give people an opportunity to speak. Yeah. Yeah. Freedom of information and freedom of press and it's important. It's necessary. Yeah. But then you can also probably go too far, would you say? Like at what point do you think freedom of speech becomes a detriment? I don't know. Like I think it. Like I used to be in the youth parliament. I had a speech about hate speech. What was your stance on it? I don't. Like, I think it's too subjective that, like, we should be placing laws upon what's hateful or not. Yeah, that's a fair point. But, because, like, where's the line? I think it depends upon the society. If the society has enough, like, tools and critical faculties to actually be able to discuss speech that they don't agree with, then it is fine. But if we live in a society where there's inability to actually question one's own thought patterns, then there may need to be restrictions. But is there such thing as a society where that even exists? I don't think so. That's the issue, is because, like, I think we should be able to say and think whatever we want, but we should also have the same ability to question those thoughts in the same breath. So that, and by restricting that speech, you also restrict the ability to question. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, so it's one of those hard ones, and like with the hate speech thing, I can identify with things that are like hateful, like are directly hateful, like calling out like racist terms to segregate others or harm others of different culture, or belief systems or anything like that. That's very hateful. But like somebody could even skew that, whoever has like sort of political control. So it's very and it's a very subjective thing. Yeah, well, there is laws around it, and they sort of draw that line of, is it inciting violence? That's kind of where they draw the line. Like, is your speech, going to lead to negative things happening to people? Yeah, and like, do they change the definitions of violence in the future? Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, is emotional violence considered violence? Yeah. Some people would say yes. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think that's a bit crazy, or? I don't know. Well, I'm not a minority. Yeah. So I can't really say. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? As a straight white guy, it's very hard to comment and say,
Yeah.
That emotional violence isn't violence because I'm not in a minority group.
Yeah.
But if you were,
yeah,
it could be pretty detrimental towards you. So
yeah, you could still have emotional violence placed on you as an individual as well, not necessarily based upon your background also. But yeah, with that, like that sort of experience, like that if it's based upon that, that is totally fair.
Yeah.
If it's totally about discrimination and calling violence against somebody of a different perspective or standing, then that's very hateful in a violent way.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
No, it's an interesting thought for sure.
Yeah, but if somebody attacked you individually and emotionally harmed you individually, does that become hate speech?
No.
Why not?
Because
because of the terms defined.
Because what hate speech is towards a group, right? Like I think the actual I'd have to Google it.
I don't know, because like that's like because that's one I know where are the definitions for.
It depends what they're saying to me. Like are they saying, oh, you're attacking the group I'm a part of, then it's probably hate speech. But if they're attacking me as a person, I probably wouldn't say it's hate speech. I'd probably just say it's mean.
Just
probably just a bit harsh. Yeah.
And you look at the definitions because that's what really determines the outcome of the question.
Yeah.
And and I have issues with definitions because I feel like they always seem to like change, and like we don't adjust quick enough for those changes.
Yeah.
Because then that leads to problematic outcomes.
Yeah.
I guess, or am I sounding like a?
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Politically, I'm a centrist.
Yeah.
So
no, me too. Well, the thing is, it's as soon as you start suppressing people's freedom of speech, it's a very, very slippery slope.
Yeah.
Like very slippery. I'm in the media, so freedom of press is the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
Freedom of information. People should be able to say what they want to say.
Yeah.
People should be able to have their voices heard.
Yeah.
Up until a point.
Yeah. So, exactly right. Like, people should be able to have, like, most conversations should be able to be had. So I think the freedom of press is very valuable. Because that's it's also what our society is built on. The entire concept of the West is basically those things like freedom of speech, human rights, individualism.
Yeah.
And that's the whole, like, the backbone of our society really is in the West. Does that sound right or wrong?
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you look at what the media started as, like the Fourth Estate, the concept of the Fourth Estate sort of started during the French Revolution.
Yeah.
So in France, you had the royalty, the First Estate.
Yeah.
Then the Second Estate was the bourgeoisie, so all the business owners.
Yeah.
And then the Third Estate was the clergy, so 99% of the population, the peasants.
Yeah.
And then the Fourth Estate was the media.
Yeah.
And the whole point of the media is that it was separate from the other three estates and it holds people in power accountable.
Yeah.
Because the royals could get away with whatever, but if the media reports on what they're doing to the common folk, the common folk outnumber the royalty, so they hold them to account, and that's what ended up happening.
Yeah,
they all ended up getting guillotined. So,
so it has its purpose
because they didn't have any cake or something like that.
Yeah. When did media first begin? Then, who do you think was the first journalist?
Storytelling's journalism, isn't it?
I guess so. So you reckon
cave paintings.
So you reckon it's always been happening?
It probably wasn't called journalism then, but I think storytelling is journalism, right?
Yeah, it is. Oh, so like we've always been like storytelling and journalists.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I guess it's always been a part of like our society. It's always been storytelling.
For sure, it's passing things down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
And these days, I can go to uni and do a 4-year degree, or you can not go to uni and write an article and post it on your Facebook.
Yeah.
And you and I are exactly the same.
Yeah.
I might have a piece of paper that says I'm a journalist, but you're still a journalist.
Yeah.
Like if you can find your own stories and write it up.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the way it's going these days. Most people, blog and vlog and podcast.
And make fucking millions of dollars off
it.
Somehow. That's interesting. Yeah. I don't know what other question I was going to go with that. So yeah, so we kind of agree that, like, I don't know if we really have to agree with the hate speech thing, that, well, for me anyway, it depends on context.
It also depends on accuracy.
Yeah.
And facts.
Yeah.
Because I can go and write an article and say this person is this and that, and if they're not, then they can turn around and sue me.
Yeah.
Because I've defamed them.
Yeah.
So if you're going to write something, you have to be able to back that up. And you also kind of have to keep feelings out of it a little bit. You can not like someone, but you can't just thrash them for no reason.
Yeah.
So I think having facts and accuracy is probably one way to control, freedom of speech.
Yeah.
You can't just say things that aren't real.
Yeah.
Which is good. You shouldn't be able to.
What other questions can I ask you? What do you want from this year?
Oh, that's a good question. Just progress my career, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, just keep doing what I'm doing. Keep pumping out good stories.
Yeah.
Get some more feature writing out. Keep doing jiu-jitsu. Keep training that.
Yeah. So, in like, let's say with your journalism, what does the end picture look like for you for journalism?
I want to be an investigative reporter.
Yeah.
That's the end goal. So, 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Long form stories that make a difference.
Yeah.
It's when you work on a 24-hour news cycle, you put out a lot of good stories, but you also put out a lot of stuff where it's like, this doesn't really get me up out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, the local playground is having an upgrade. It's interesting. People care about it, but it's not journalism really, is it? It's kind of, you're just sort of telling someone what they could just read on a poster.
Yeah, you fill in the gaps.
Yeah. I don't feel particularly proud writing stories like that, but they're necessary.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you see those stories where they'll investigate something and then it leads to a change, like when there's a coronial inquest into something, that's the sort of journalism I really like.
Yeah.
Well, you asked me before how I got into journalism, and I didn't actually answer this part. I watched the movie Spotlight.
What's that?
So that's the true story about the Boston Globe, who uncovered all the pedophilia in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And it was a team of maybe 6 journalists from the Boston Globe, just the paper there. And for years and years, they did this investigative reporting, and they got threatened and sued and took on one of the most powerful organisations in the world, but exposed just this deeply entrenched, abuse within the church. Like that sort of stuff is what media and journalism is important for, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. A bit of detective work.
Yeah.
So how do you achieve that? So do you just need experience and just apply? Like, how do you achieve such a role?
I think you just find stories yourself and eventually you get to that point. But it's most of the investigative reporters have been a journalist for 20 odd years. Yeah. Because you have to have a nose for it. You have to see something and be like, that feels a bit off to me. It's kind of like a detective in police. You get a sort of feeling for things and then you just follow the chain down. You got to have good sources and protect those sources. Yeah. I think it's just sort of something you do. Yeah. You just learn over time.
Yeah. That experience thing. Beautiful. And in progressive jiu-jitsu. So you want to try to do that until you reach black belt, or?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Just be careful with your joints.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. I'm trying to not be stupid.
Yeah.
Not too many spazzy white belt rolls.
That sounds wise.
Yeah, and then also just like relationship stuff. It'd be nice to move near my partner as well, which is good because we've been doing long distance for a year. So continue that.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Do you plan on having a family?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I want kids.
Yeah. So like, not to get too personal, I find this interesting when people like have kids and stuff. So like, what age group would you want to have kids?
Like, what age would I be when I want to have kids?
Yeah.
Probably around, I'm 25 now.
Yeah.
Maybe 30.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That sounds
next
reasonable.
5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that, so what's your reason for 30?
I don't know. You're a relatively young parent.
Yeah.
I think my mum had me around that age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends. I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years. It's sort of hard to judge now, but...
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I was going to ask you what you look like in 5 years.
Yeah.
No, it's really interesting because I have a lot of my friends who are having kids now, and they're like some of them are 24, 23, some of them are 26. It's a very strange time now as you get older and you start seeing all the people you know having children and why they have children. Like, some people have children just by impulse, or they have them by decision.
I want to be financially stable before I have kids. I want to bring them into a world where they're comfortable.
Oh, exactly right. That's my same thought process as well. I was like, I don't have kids until I'm like financially ready.
I think it's irresponsible sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I think,
Well, imagine that. Like, you bring a kid in, you're unstable, and then your kid's going to be unstable.
And your life changes.
Yeah.
And it will never go back to how it is before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. I've had mates who've just had kids, and they're just, they can't come to things anymore, and because they got a kid.
Yeah.
And that's just fine. That's just how life is.
Yeah.
But it's a big decision to make. It's not something you take lightly, I don't think.
Well, you're taking care of a life for the rest of your life. So it's a very long time.
And rewarding though.
Yeah, well, it will be.
Yeah.
But you also want to make sure you have a child at a time that you won't resent the kid as well.
Yeah.
Because I could imagine you meet some parents who have kids at 16, and or 18, and they have prospects of like, I don't know, developing a proper career, but as soon as having a kid at that age, they can't actually. And if they realise that, do they resent their kids, and does that then reflect on the child in 20 years' time as well?
Yeah, and then your marriage can fall apart because of it. It's
It's making sure you're very stable and content with your own self before you start bringing somebody else into it. Like that's my biggest fear before I have a kid. I want to make sure I take care of my needs before I bring another one in.
Yeah.
Like my individual needs. Like I understand it's going to be self-sacrificing, but I need to be selfish for a period of time before I can do that.
It's not selfish though. It's just being responsible.
Yeah. Like it is, but also in the same sort of like way. Like you have to be selfish to be able to give to others sometimes. Like for example, like I have a limited amount of time before like age catches with me, or like X, Y, Z, or before the opportunities I have now go away. So I'm going to take them all I can before I have a kid, because then if I had a kid now, I'd resent that child. Well, not necessarily resent the child, I'd resent the actions I've made, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it's like I could have done this, and now I've made this decision. This is probably going to reflect on my child somewhere. I need to prevent that as much as I can.
How old are you now?
I'm 27 now.
27. Yeah. When do you want to have a kid?
I'm thinking 35, dude. Because I spent like years of like not having any money or anything like that, and like now I'm like at that point in life where I can financially do things like travel, like I can do like CrossFit, jiu-jitsu, like all these experiences I want to have before like I get old.
Yeah, travel's a big one, I reckon.
Yeah,
because you can't travel with a kid. It just doesn't work. It's not the same.
No, like, and I want to at least like every year I want to go overseas at least once, and I need that for myself, before I bring somebody else in here, because I need to address my own needs first.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, these days people are living longer. You know, back in the day, people were dying at 60, so they had their kids at 20, or 18, or whatever.
And they didn't have opportunities like we do now as well.
Yeah,
like, back in those days, like you and like they would have opportunities to go to like Japan, USA, like if they wanted to. Yeah, like that was a really foreign concept. Like the fact that we can do that is so privileged. And so like, and that's where I see that like while I have the opportunities, I should take them. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Where do you want to travel to?
I want to go to Japan. I've always wanted to go to Japan because of the whole like martial arts thing.
Do some judo?
One day, I hope.
Yeah.
Probably not this time, but probably another time. Be Japan, Iceland, Norway. I want to go to Russia, Canada.
You like the cold?
Yeah, I love the cold. I just like because I've been in Mildura in like my entire life, which is fucking. It's hot. It's a desert. Yeah. And as soon as you go to the snow, I was like, oh fuck, this is unique. Yeah. Something different. But like I really like those I really appreciate cultures. You'll see like cultures like that where like it's very simple and like very honest. Like Japanese culture is very simple and very honest in the sense that like you find your discipline that you master and you continue through your life to attain mastery, and then you also have like those other concepts of like your family and culture and society, which is very basic. Then you have things like Iceland, where it's like they have these people who've had to survive in this rugged, cold terrain, and that would have to be like in order to do that, you have to follow some very simplistic structures and be very resilient, which I respect. Same with Russia, Norway, and all that sort of stuff. That's the sort of beauty of finding those sort of cultures.
It's interesting though that you were talking about the Japanese like that, because they also have really high stress rates and really high suicide rates as well, because if they screw up, that's the end of the world for them.
Yeah,
like losing face is just a massive thing for Japanese people.
And I guess I'm like, that's a good point. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. And I respect the drive they have over there.
Do you think that's because of the modern world? Because do you think back in the times before modernity and the need for like all this economic growth and all these needs, that sort of culture would have been more successful?
Well, I mean, the Japanese became successful from trading.
Yeah.
Like they had all the ports in Okinawa, I think it was.
You mean like in recent years, or you mean
no,
like
back in the days?
Yeah. Because there was a period of time when they shut everything off from the borders and didn't trade.
That's right. Yeah.
For like 100 years or something like that. Yeah. Were they successful then?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a different life.
I might need to change my opinion.
Yeah.
I might need to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I really enjoy the sort of the culture also influences the suicide rate because of a high stress environment they need to provide.
And then you could sort of look at like another country, like if you look at Southeast Asia, where they are all really, really poor and all live a really simple life, but they seem relatively happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they don't work hard. They obviously do work hard.
Yeah.
But it's different to that Japanese culture.
Yeah.
You know, they're not so business focused or anything. It's just, you know, you do your simple thing, you make your little money a day, but they seem pretty happy. I don't know. I don't know if any one country has it right.
Yeah. I think it's more that I respect it.
Yeah.
I think it's where it comes from.
Respect the grind.
Yeah. Because, like, it's very... I don't know. It's probably a quality in myself that I want to have. It's probably why I reach out to it. Because, like, I want... Like, in my life, I want to be more disciplined and more resilient. It's basically, like, a real concept I really try to drive forward. And I guess that's why. I guess that's a bit of insight there. Yeah.
I don't know about you though, but I find I'm so much happier when I'm disciplined. Like when I have a schedule, I'm not like I lose my mind if I don't have a schedule.
Yeah.
You know, I like I go to training every day, I go to work every day. Doing that, you just feel better. You feel like you're achieving something.
Same. Like, well, at the moment, like today, like hasn't been too structured, but most of my day I schedule.
Yeah.
Like everything's written down that I want to do.
It's good.
And and that's probably similar to you. Like you got your goals like jiu-jitsu, work, and probably fitness on top of that.
Yeah, fitness, yeah.
Because you do like weight training and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, that sense of purpose is so valuable. Yeah.
Do you ever get guilty if you don't do things?
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, like, I'm the same. I almost think I get too guilty sometimes. Like I can't, relax.
Yeah. Like there was a period of time when I was like, it was when I was in uni. And, like, the anxiety was so strong that, like, you would have, like, 4 hours sleep. Because, like, you're working, you're studying, you're, like, trying to make sure you get the highest grades you can possible. Like, you want to do a good job. And that's, like, if you, like, let's say if I missed, like, went out to, like, a pub down the Palmy, I'd feel like I wouldn't be able to relax.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to get this done. Like, it was very anxiety-driven. Do you mean like that?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I just get anxiety now as well. Like, if I go out for, like, a couple of drinks the next day... It's just like existential. Like, I've just wasted my life. It's such a piece of shit.
It's all over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Recently, I'm used to be like that, but I'm improving that perspective. Is that there is a lot of value in hanging out with your friends.
Yeah, definitely.
I find that like after having like let's say a week of me just like grinding away, and if I just have like a couple of hours with some mates, like right now, like having a good conversation, a laugh, like the next day you just feel $100.
Yeah. Yeah, you need it for sure.
Just like that moment of like dopamine you get from like sharing a joke with a mate, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I just have that sort of personality. I just go hard everything I did.
Yeah.
Like, when I was a teenager, I was just like, just a wild boy. I was just always just going super hard into drinking and stuff.
Yeah.
And now I don't really do as much of that. I mean, last night I did, but I don't normally do as much of that. And now I'm just super hard into the training.
Yeah.
Like I think it's just that sort of almost addictive personality.
Oh, I'm the exact same dude. Like I'm hooked onto everything. Like let's say like with chewing gum, I'll chew the whole packet a day.
Yeah.
Not
I'm the same.
Because it's like I can't stop. I need to
nothing but half measures.
Yeah, I need to have this resistance. I'll enjoy that resistance on when I'm chewing. Like I need more. Like, so I'm the exact same dude. I have to go all or nothing. Like with my personal goals and stuff. Like I want to see how fit I can get before 35.
Yeah.
So like I'm just like trying to like PB and get as strong and as fast and like as cardiovascularly fit. Well, one, because I feel like it's a realistic achievement because it doesn't cost much money, and like it's something that I've always done, and I don't want to live my life for that. Like seeing how that becomes. So I'm like fucking balls deep in that. Like,
what's that quote? It's like it's a shame for a man to grow old
without that quote,
knowing what he can achieve,
what his body can achieve, or some shit.
It's always posted on Instagram, but it's actually got quite a good quote.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And that I was doing it before that, but like now I'm just more structured in the sense. But yeah, that's one of the things. I'm all or nothing, and like I have to be all or nothing in this, or else this opportunity will go away.
Yeah.
So I find it very important to me. Like jiu-jitsu, like I want to get my black belt before I turn 30.
Yeah.
And that's coming quicker and quicker. Like it's kind of scary to think because you probably turned 26 this year.
Yeah, in October.
Yeah, I turned 27 this year. It's devastating.
Yeah,
I hate my birthday.
Yeah,
yeah.
The years just go quicker and quicker. I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, go.
I was going to say I saw a thing and it said like the reason it feels like the years go quicker and quicker is because it's a smaller percentage of your life.
Yeah.
Like when you're a kid and you're 10.
Yeah.
A year is 1/10 of your life.
True.
But as you get older, it becomes a smaller and smaller increment of your life. So it just feels like the years are just flying by.
The one thing that I found that like really makes my life feel like it takes forever is also filling it up with lots of things.
Yeah, keeping
yourself busy. Like I've never found like not busy in the sense of doing one thing, but doing multiple things. Because like let's say in your day you wake up. Let's say for example you go to do weights at the gym in the morning. Go do your weights. Then you go to work. You do your work in the day. You have jiu-jitsu at night. Then after jiu-jitsu at night, you'll do like another task. Like let's say for some housework, and then afterwards you'll do some other goals like. For example, for me, it's like right now I'm trying to learn Japanese. And if you look at that at the end of the day, it feels like you lived like 2 lifetimes in that one day.
When you get in bed, you're just like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. But like, you feel like your life's lasted forever.
Yeah.
Or like when you go on holidays, do you ever feel like the holiday takes forever, but it's also short at the same time?
Yeah, I get that.
Yes.
Yeah, because you just pack things in.
Yeah.
Like going on tours and going out for dinners and...
Yeah, like we went to Melbourne for 2 days. Like Caitlin and I went to Melbourne for like 2 days. And I felt like I was there for a fucking week.
Yeah.
Like it's like... Like we ended up seeing Andrew Huberman.
Oh really?
Oh, like she surprised me with this gift of going to see Andrew.
Amazing.
Live. Oh, so cool, man.
What was he talking about?
Basically, well, everything on his podcast really, but he put them into like small bullet points and then had a Q&A at the end. He basically spoke about sleep cycle, motivation, like self-death, like all that sort of stuff, like basically self-improvement strategies and optimal health and all those sort of things.
He's such a cool guy.
Oh man,
he's just the best.
maybe that should be my goal. I should probably like work towards being able to interview him. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, he's just a great male role model.
Yeah,
on social media where there's so many bad male role models, I think he's a really good one.
Yeah. Do you, with that as well? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you think the world's absent of good male role models?
I think people
in the West. I think I'll only say that from the West perspective. I don't know about any other culture.
I don't think it's absent of it, but I think we get shown ones that aren't necessarily great.
Yeah.
You know, pushing, as I said before, like that red pill agenda that you see a lot on social media. Like, I don't think that's good for kids to be seeing.
Yeah.
And my cousin's a teacher, and she's saying, you know, there's kids in her school, like 12-year-olds, being like, I love Andrew Tate, I hate women.
Yeah.
And it's just like, they don't know why they're saying it.
Yeah.
But they just see it. Yeah. I don't know why that's suddenly so prevalent at the moment. The whole sort of toxic masculinity, if that's the word you want to use for it.
Probably would be the definition.
That's what they would call it.
I'd say toxic people.
Toxic people, yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily a trait. I don't think it's masculinity. That's probably a whole other conversation. Do you so you don't know why or don't think?
Yeah, but it's the same thing. You got to seek out those people. Like Huberman, you listen to him. He's just a cool guy.
Yeah,
he's never had any dramas, never had any controversies. Yeah. Seems like a nice guy, good husband, healthy guy. Promotes a healthy lifestyle. Just a good dude.
Very content. Pursues passion.
Yeah, smart guy. He's fit. He's pretty. It's like what you should aspire to be, I think.
Yeah. Do you know he's absolutely shredded?
Oh yeah, have you seen that video with his shirt off?
Yeah, I was like, fuck.
And he's tatted up as well.
He's like in his 50s too. I'm like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
he's the man you want to be.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think it's probably a combination of like vulnerabilities from social media and that we like at home. I don't think like there probably are really good male role models, but there are probably a lot there aren't that really grab onto those vulnerable people, like those kids who find Andrew Tate as a role model. But I have no evidence to back that up at all.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I guess it's kind of projection as well, because like during my growing up, I never really had my dad around, so I feel like that's probably why I perceive it that way. But I probably need more time to actually find some evidence to actually prove that point or disprove it. But I think it's probably because of that.
So what male role models did you have growing up?
No one. No? I had none. I can't think of any that were like decent that influenced me. The only ones that ended up like influencing me were the people like on YouTube. Really, that's all I had was YouTube.
Who would you watch?
I'd watch people who were like did political points of view and like people who like things about. I used to listen to Philosophize This. I used to like that's where I had like all those influences, and I had like all these people that would talk about concepts of like how to live a good life, and I'm just trying to think who else was a major influence in my life. Like it was a combination of those people who I think they really formed my thought patterns, and like reading was really my influence, and then eventually I found male role models like David Goggins, Jocko Willink, and I find them as really good guiding role models. And also because like I start to agree with those points of view, And same with Huberman, like he's an amazing male role model.
Yeah.
Like he's so good for society. I don't know much about Joe Rogan. Like he's good to listen to, but like at the moment, there's some concepts I agree with now, but like there's some aspects of him in his later years at the moment that I haven't seen shift too much. Like listening to his podcast, I don't feel like he's evolved too much.
No, not really.
I don't like because...
What I do like about him though is that he gives everyone a fair shout.
Yeah.
He has people from the left, he has people from the right, and then like he's not particularly biased in
which is good. Beautiful.
Which is good as someone of that level and with that platform.
Yeah, but then again, it might also be like me not listening to every content he has, and then not just forming a half-assed opinion as well. But yeah, that's the only people I can think of. I had no teachers significant in my life. I had no other real men in my life significant. I really just had to listen to like all these... I had a moment of like, you know, like the whole MGTOW and men's right thing movement. Oh, it was like a fucking movement ages ago where it was like basically rejecting society and stuff like that and going your own way and rejecting marriage and relationships and stuff like that. And that was when I was like a really young kid as well. Similar was like the Andrew Tate kids, but not that extreme.
Yeah.
Not saying like the sort of shit he says.
Yeah.
But then eventually like listening to more things and learning how to like critically think about my own life and my own perceptions, and then like changing it over time as well to realize that like the world isn't like that. I'm really trying to think of like real role models, but the only ones I can think of are the ones that I'd read about. Anime characters.
Yeah.
They're fucking up there.
What's the go-to anime?
Naruto, Dragon Ball Z. That was like my influence as a kid.
You seen My Hero?
Yeah, I've seen My Hero Academia. Like that whole like idea of like working hard and like going through like moments of struggle and then coming out the other side. Like
the shonen protagonist.
Yeah, man. It gives me like goosebumps like every time.
Have you seen Fullmetal Alchemist?
Yeah, man. Love that show too.
It's one of my favourites.
Yeah. Did you have any really good male role models in your life?
Yeah, my dad is a great male role model. My granddad was good. Yeah, I had a lot of good male role models around me, which is good.
That's good.
They're just the definition of hard work, I think.
Yeah.
My old man and my granddad and my grandma and my auntie came over from England on a boat when they were around. I think my dad was, 4 or 5. Sort of grew up in a rough area.
Yeah.
And then my grandma got a job working at Westminster, which is a private school in Adelaide.
Yeah.
And then because she worked there, my dad got a half scholarship to go there.
Yeah.
My granddad worked 2 jobs to be able to send him there, even on the half scholarship. My grandma worked as well.
Yeah.
So he went there, and then the whole time he was there, he said people used to, call him Povo and say this and that about him. And he just worked really, really hard. And now he's really successful, CEO of a business, has done really well, but it's just awesome. Purely off of hard work.
Yeah.
And I just respect that.
That's awesome.
Really, really respect that. Just full bootstrapping style.
There's nothing better than the grind.
Yeah.
Like watching somebody go through that. It's just, and for a cause.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
cool.
Oh, it makes me feel good.
And then my granddad was probably, I was like really, really close to my granddad growing up. He was just a wise little Welsh man.
Yeah.
Just had good advice. He always told me the story of Brer Rabbit. Do you know what Brer Rabbit is?
No.
So I've got a tattoo of it. One of these arms, a little rabbit there.
Yeah.
Basically, I used to read this book as a kid, and Brer Rabbit's like an old English folk tale about a rabbit, and a fox will get him, and he says, like, I'm going to eat you. And Brer Rabbit says, oh, you can eat me. I don't mind, but whatever you do, don't throw me into that thorn bush. It's the worst thing you could do to me.
Yeah.
Throws him into the thorn bush, and that's where he lives. There's little holes under there.
Yeah.
And it's all about, just using your wit and using your words to get out of things. And my granddad really sort of pushed that.
Yeah.
He was a very sort of witty guy and funny, which,
That's
I think had a bit of an impact on me for sure.
That's good. That's very good. It's good to hear you had that.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not to say like my dad's my friend now, but my dad was absent for a period of time because like he was a truck driver.
Yeah.
Like, so like I wouldn't see him too much. So like I'd only have my mum around. But like as I gotten older and dad's like slowed down on work, like we've become friends, and now it's probably more of a role model now. But like before that, he was a different person.
Yeah. You guys similar? Do you think?
There's a lot of traits that we have about ourselves, but there are a lot of traits that we don't have, just like anyone, I guess, in a family. The whole martial arts thing, my dad's has 3 black belts.
Really? What
in? Like Kenpo Anise, like a Kung Fu fucking thing, I can't remember this. This is all back in like the 70s.
Yeah.
And one other one I can't remember. But I've got like all these books and stuff, like like in the backyard he had like a Wing Chun dummy and everything like that.
That's cool.
Like he used to like, I really got to deal with that spider in the corner there. The plan today is to clean the house. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, it's kind of a mess.
That's
Yeah, so like, yeah, Dad, that would have been one influence, but, and like that discipline aspect, I guess. There's one thing that my dad did really well, which was he would always get up and do it when it came to work. Like when I found out like his perceptions of it, even though like he didn't realise at the end of the day, he always thought that men were meant to just work and that was it and provide.
Yeah.
Which is one aspect, but then he forgot like he didn't get any time to see us grow up. Which is one thing that he seems to regret. But like always seeing him, like he always, like, because his job was hard because he woke up at 4 a.m. in the morning to go to work every day. And then he'd work like 12
hours. Big sacrifices.
Yeah. Like every day for like 20, 30 years he's been doing that. And he all did that for family, which is very respectful. Yeah. I think. But like in doing that also like led him blind to think that like that was the right thing to do for other aspects of care. But like, you know, it's things that you don't realise as well because you're so in the moment. He's like, oh, and probably in his perception the entire time he's thinking, oh, this is for my family, this is for this, which is 100% true. But you're also neglecting the part that like you're actually not going to be able to see the family you're providing for.
That's true. Yeah. I think as well, like, you know, when you're growing up, sometimes you resent your parents for things and you argue with your parents for things. But as you get older, you realise that they're just doing the best job they know how to do.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, like, they just try to make the you know, like, we're adults now. We just try to do the best we can do in situations. Don't always make the right call sometimes.
Oh, exactly right.
There's no book on it. You know, no one really knows what they're doing. So
no, we're all just children pretending we're not.
Yeah, exactly. Just fumble around in the dark and hopefully you succeed. Really.
Hopefully get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but yeah, that's one aspect I guess I get from my dad. But I think I've got a big good combination of my mum and my dad and me, and I've developed a lot of thinking tools. I feel like and because of like my anxieties, I've developed a lot of introspective thought all the time, and I've kind of used it as a way to think about how I approach my day, and how I should approach others. So I think that's very valuable.
Yeah.
Without sounding too corny.
No, not at all.
Basically, how I roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else could we go on that? Female role models. Do you have any good ones?
Yeah, same thing. My mum was good. Grandma as well. Both my grandmas were good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my mum was cool.
Yeah.
Is cool. Continues to be cool. Yeah.
What did you learn most from your mum?
Well, she was really big on being respectful to women. That was a big thing as well. You know, growing up, like she was, you know, make sure you're respectful to your girlfriends, women you don't know, things like that. She definitely pushed that on me. Yeah. Which is good, and it's an important thing to know as a teenager. Just everything really. Yeah. My mum and I are pretty similar. She lived a pretty tough life. Yeah. Growing up, her sister's like drug addict. Like, you know, meth, heroin, like really had a hard life. Yeah. But she's just stoic and just tough. Yeah. Yeah. She'd tell me stories and stuff. She'd have to go and get her sister from like heroin houses when she was a teenager, like going to them and pull her sister out and stuff. Yeah. So she saw some stuff growing up and, you know, was in a car crash when she was a teenager where her best friend got killed in front of her. Like she saw a lot of things. Yeah. But she's just, strong woman. Yeah. Yeah, really smart.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. All I had was my mum, I think, as well from that. And mainly mum taught me like, there's always two sides to a story. So that's probably why I'm not very opinionated. I always shift my opinions, but because like I don't think there's any. The world's really grey. Yeah. It's not a very black and white world.
No deontology, right? Huh? Deontology? That's the black and white philosophy.
I don't know. Is it?
I think so.
I don't know, man. I'll tell you what. This year I'll read more philosophy books this year. Yeah. As well as that author you were saying.
Yeah, Jack Haraway.
That you have to send me. Yeah. I will forget. Yeah, basically, that's my mum was a really big influence. Like we had always like if I had a hard day, I would always go to my mum, and mum would she'd be like very balanced. Like she wouldn't be like a perspective of one side. Like it'd be my perception, but also like putting in the thought of like what's happening on the other side, and that's always stuck with me. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's good.
So like it's been very valuable.
It's good to learn that early, I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard. Yeah, what your parents ingrain into you is really, really hard to unlearn.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's like because that's when you're from your developing years and your brain's like soft and spongy.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you learn it. Like everything you learn from your observations.
Yeah, I think everything's mostly just nurture, right?
Oh, I think it's 50-50.
You reckon 50-50?
Oh, actually, I don't know.
Well, I mean, the field you work in,
yeah,
obviously you would say that nature plays a part because some of those people that you would see have mental health issues that are just maybe genetic.
Yeah. Like schizophrenia, like some people, like they start out their lives perfectly fine. Like they have like really good lives, and all of a sudden they get the disease comes in their 20s. And then they're
scary.
Yeah. And some schizophrenics, like they start out very academically successful and very intelligent. Then like they hit their teen years and all of a sudden they start deteriorating.
Does it just come out of nowhere, or is it mostly drug induced?
It's one of those things where like it could come out like spontaneously or through drugs. Like somebody is vulnerable. Like you and I could like smoke. I don't smoke dope, but like
me neither.
Like and be fine. But like your mate next to you smoke it once and all of a sudden he's psychotic.
Yeah.
And then he's like afterwards he's like developing schizophrenic symptoms. And he's just triggered it. People like bipolar disorder similar as well.
Yeah.
Like you'll just like it's not in your control. You just have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like some like I don't know. There's those aspects of genetic vulnerability mixed with that nurture. Because I feel that like you and I could be similar to any of my mental health clients if we were put in the right circumstances. If I didn't have the same sort of upbringing and was brought up in like a drug infested house with all these like substances around me and knowing those are the only ways to cope in the world, and then the only way to survive is to be verbally aggressive, self-harm myself, or make threats of suicide to get my needs met, then I would be doing that. But the way I've learned how to get my needs met is to actually not do that and actually come and have a conversation with somebody.
It's really like interesting.
So like you and I could end up like that without even, because like it's an ingrained behaviour that we just haven't had the skills developed to identify.
Well, they talk about the fact that, you know, when people get abuse from a young age, they see that almost as a form of love. Like that's the only way they know how to express, which is just tragic.
Yeah.
But that's how they see it was brought onto them by their parents, and then that's how they put it onto other people.
It's pretty fucked, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really fucked.
Like, what was that video for? Like, it was like that video where like it's a movie and the guy's hitting his wife, and he's like, "Oh, that's because you love her."
Yeah.
Like that was like a mindset like back in the day that like violence was appropriate in like an intimate relationship. Like that's the sort of like skewed perception it is. Like people who self-harm, they're only self-harming because it's all they know how to cope or how to get how to get a need met.
Attention.
They're like, I've cut myself. How are you going? Like, I need help. Like, inside they're saying I need help, but they can only show that.
Yeah, rather than just communicating.
Yeah. They have so much emotional dysregulation that's the only way they can ask for help is like, I want to die. I want to kill myself, and I'm going to do it this way.
Yeah.
That's them saying I need help. Which is very like extreme way. But that's how they've always been brought up. Or like you see a lot of antisocial men who like, let's say if they need a need met, they'll be like, I will bash you for that fucking cigarette right now, cunt. Like, that's the sort of thing. I will slit your throat if you don't give me this cigarette. Because they know it works.
Yeah.
And that's all they know. And, like, you meet people like that all the time in my sort of line of work.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's all they know, and that's all they know how to get their needs met. And it's fucking strange.
And I guess it'd just be hard to unlearn that as well.
Yeah, and sometimes there's, like, some people don't have the ability to unlearn it. Some people have, like brain damage and like haven't got the tool set, and like the only way you're going to be able to really change yourself is if you want to change yourself also.
And
a lot of the time people don't because they don't see that there's a problem, because they're like, oh, I'm enjoying this, I get like dopamine high, I get to smoke some crack, sit in my den, watch some Netflix, like, you know, and get paid from the dollar. What's the point of doing anything? But like, I'm not saying that to everyone, but that's the sort of example. But how weird is that though?
Yeah, it is weird.
That's a way of coping. Like same, probably similar with the Japanese. Like the only suitable way to restore my honor is to kill myself. That's a very similar thing.
Yeah, it's just it's an interesting thought. Yeah. I don't know, because humans have that self-preservation built into them.
Yeah.
You know, like the concept of you can't drown yourself.
Yeah. Because
your body will naturally reject that.
Yeah.
But then some people get to the point where they'll do that, which is
strange, isn't it?
Strange, yeah.
Like in the sense of like those people that cut themselves, they never do it to the point that they're gonna die.
Yeah.
Because I think that self-preservation's still there. And most of the time when people say they're gonna kill themselves, they don't really want to. They only usually die from misadventure.
Is it they want people to care? Like, is that what it is?
That's it. Like some cases, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that need of like I need some sort of help. I just can't identify it. I feel like my life's a mess. I want to die. Help me. Like, it's basically, that's how I see it anyway. But not everything's case by case. It's a very subjective field.
Of course, yeah.
But But most of the time, it isn't the fact that they want to commit suicide. They want something met. And the only way, like, they can get is by showing displays of, like, extreme things like suicide. Like, you have people who will, like, attempt to overdose, but they won't do enough to kill themselves. Because they'll take the pills, right, and then they'll call the ambulance straight after and saying, I've done an overdose, please pick me up. Like, they clearly don't want to die.
Yeah.
Because they've just called somebody. So there's still that sliver of, like, self-preservation in there. But people who actually want to kill themselves don't tell you.
Yeah.
That's the scary thing.
Yeah. No, I've been to a suicide funeral before, and it was like, no one expected it.
Yeah.
Just complete shock. Like, people were hanging out with him last week. He seemed completely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll never know.
No, you don't. Apparently there's a thing where you get, like, a bit of a morbid topic, but you get kind of, like, really positive the week before you do it.
Yeah.
But they get that, like pre-glow effect. They've just accepted it. It's really strange.
Yeah, maybe they're just...
So you got to check up on your friends who are happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like, that whole, like, corny thing when they show, like, photos of, like, Robin Williams and stuff like that. You wouldn't expect him to kill himself because he's so happy.
I'm glad there's been such a switch recently in terms of men's mental health.
Yeah.
Like, really, there's been a real check-up on your mates. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, in the last couple of years. Yeah. And because it's the biggest killer of men, isn't it?
Oh, fucking oath. Yeah. It's one of the biggest ones, yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that people are now more open to talking about it is great. Because back in the day, it's like, if you're a bloke in the 50s, you can't tell anyone you're sad.
Yeah.
It's just not
a
people
thing.
Wouldn't accept it.
Yeah. And that's one thing I want to see more of. Because, like, I want to see, like, more people meeting up just having a chat.
Yeah.
Like for me, like, I feel like for this podcast, for example, I love having these conversations. But I feel like it's so hard now to actually get somebody to sit down and just do it, like a random person. You can't just do that with, like, another bloke and saying, like, hey, you're okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we should have, like, a culture of, like, where it's okay to have these really, like, important conversations about yourself, to have a check-in, and you need to be able to do that with others where it's safe.
Yeah, I think a lot of it relies on, like, other people checking on you, because sometimes if you're in that situation, you're not going to go out of the way and tell other people.
No.
Like, you need your friends to be like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Coming and checking on you.
And a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
And we're like now we're having that switch, which is really good. I think it's so valuable.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's kind of like very uniting and very, like, warm and fuzzies.
Yeah. Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. Does that yeah. Like, I feel like for example, like, this conversation here, I feel is very valuable.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've gotten to know you quite well and I got to know myself a little bit better.
No, it's good. Like, I really enjoyed it.
Thanks
for having me.
Oh, no worries, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
If you want to ask you one more question.
Yeah, let's go.
We've already asked, like, what you look like in a year. So, like, what does it look like in 10 years from now? What do you think your life is going to look like?
Yeah, hopefully have a family. Yeah. Have some kids.
Yeah.
Have a nice house somewhere. Nothing too big or extravagant. Yeah. Not particularly materialistic.
Yeah. Any plans to travel?
Yeah, I want to get some travel in. Yeah. Hopefully go to Southeast Asia. Japan would be cool.
Yeah.
Canada to see my cousin over there would be nice.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, just travel and work and just try to achieve something I'm proud of, I think.
That sounds good, man. Sounds really good. Thank you for coming on. This has been Thought Anthology. Goodbye. I really need to get a bloody good camera.